Well, it appears to be 9:30. So before we begin, let me say thank you for spreading out. There is overflow. If you don't feel comfortable in here, we've got overflow in the courtroom. And also, this is being recorded as well. We will have a guest that will join us online here in just a little bit. And we'll hopefully, he's not here yet apparently, so, but we'll do that. I call this Commissioners Court of Clay County to order. This is 9:30 on March the 23rd. Please join me as we pledge allegiance to our flags. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Amen. Lord God, we just come to you today and just thank you for your protection. We just pray now for calm. We pray for safety, a hedge of protection, Lord, around our first responders, our sheriff's office and our deputies, God, our emergency room staff, our doctors and nurses, God, they're on the front line of this. God, we thank you that there's been no reported cases in Clay County yet. But God, I just pray for those that are facing the uncertainty financially. Our businesses, God, I just pray that you would bring us together, God, in a time of unity. I pray for our governor, God, as he makes decisions that affect all of us in Texas. I pray for a president that makes decisions that affect us nationally, God. But above all, God, we are now learning to depend on you. And for that, we are grateful, God. I just pray now that you would guide each of us as we make decisions that will affect the people of Clay County. I pray that we'll be good stewards of your resources, and above all, keep us safe. It's in Jesus' precious name we pray. Amen. Amen. All right. Court to approve minutes of previous meeting.
I make the motion to approve the minutes for the previous meeting.
Motion's been made by John, seconded by Chase, to approve minutes of the previous meeting. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Any line item budget amendments? Let's see, I believe we do have one in here.
Motion to approve these. I think there's 3 on there. Line out budget amendment.
Okay. Got it. Okay, right there. Motion made by Chase.
Okay.
Second by Richard. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes 5-0. Court to consider possibly approve payment of bills relating to Clay County Memorial Hospital.
Make a motion that we pay bills relating to Clay County Memorial Hospital. Second.
Motion made by Johnny, seconded by John. Any discussion? All those opposed? I'm sorry. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes 5-0. Court to consider possibly approve payment of Clay County Memorial Hospital Foundation payroll.
Make a motion to approve payment to Clay County Memorial Hospital Foundation.
Second.
Motion made by Richard, seconded by Johnny. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes 5-0. Court to consider possibly approve all accounts and reports relating to the finances of Clay County, audit and settle accounts and direct payments. Motion made by Chase.
Second.
Seconded by John. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes 5-0. Item number 7. Court to consider possibly approve county payroll.
Make a motion to pay
Not today.
the
Not
county
today.
payroll.
We don't have any.
Oh, we don't have.
Oh, we don't have one. I beg your pardon. We don't.
Not today.
Not
It's not ready.
So will we have to have another meeting before? No? Okay. Never mind. Beg your pardon. Court to consider possibly approve request consent to enter for disposal of dirt, soil, sediment, waste material, waiver of claims. Nobody? Okay. Skip 8. Court to consider possibly approve and declare items submitted as surplus or salvage. I understand we do have a couple of computers and
Yes, I
Keith
had
has
two Dell computers, were 10 to 12 years old, and Ashley come looked at them. She laid hands on them. She said they're not worth anything.
Okay.
To get rid of them. And also, I'd like to ask permission to take those to Frank Woodall. He can use parts, and he uses them, and if he can fix them, which I doubt, but he can use parts for. He fixes computers up and donates them to kids that can't afford them. So I'd ask permission to, and also your laptop too, which was on salvage last commissioner's report.
If we salvage it, and do whatever we want to.
Yes, sir. The only thing about that would be to wipe out the hard drive.
Yes, yes.
All right. So do I hear a motion to declare the items listed by Keith as surplus and allow him to give them to Frank Woodall?
So moved.
Shouldn't that be salvaged?
Yes,
Salvage.
and salvaged.
It doesn't matter. No, it needs to be salvaged at first.
Okay. So motion's made by Johnny and seconded by
John.
John. Any discussion?
I'm gonna change it.
But Johnny's okay with that. All right. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes 5-0. Court to consider and possibly approve purchases of furniture or equipment. Got everything we need. All right. Court to hear from persons desiring to hear before the court, and we do have 2 that have signed up. Okay. And just a reminder that you've got 5 minutes, and let's see, Ms. Smith, you're first, but you wanted to refer to Brian Barton, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, Brian. 5 minutes.
Good morning. My name is Brian Barton. I represent the North Texas Heritage Association this morning. We're a group of about 600 people and represent about 420,000 acres in Clay and Montague County. Our colleague, Ann Smith.
Would you mind scooting over just a little bit, please? There you go. Perfect. Thank you.
All right. Spoke to you about, what was it, 5 weeks ago, 6 weeks ago, Ann, about our concerns on safety regulations for wind farms. I'm with that same group. What I want to share with you this morning is an economic study we did about the financial impacts of a wind farm in our county. We became concerned. It was common knowledge that a wind farm would contribute $2 million a year to the economy. And that's probably true. And it's probably the same in Montague County. But the other half of that coin is that there's impediments that come from wind farms too. So we did what we feel is a very scrupulous and thorough economic value and uncovered what we know in every other county, in every other state in the union, that wind farms overall have an actual negative value to the economy. If you take just the revenue to the county and just the revenue to the school district, there is probably $2 million worth of benefit. And that stretches for 20 to 30 years, depending on the economic zone that's done. But what most people don't realize is that there's a whole series of negative impacts. It starts from things as simple as the effects on groundwater wells because of the very low frequency sound, to things like 911 capacity that gets interfered with, and so the local first responders have to put in additional and expensive equipment to be able to cover those areas. The biggest impact is the impact on property values, but it goes all the way down. If you're a rancher and you have hunting leases on your land, that is pretty much gone. And so there's that impact. If you use that money to fix your fences every year, you give that up. So we identified 8 areas, and I want to show you how to use this because it's really important you take the time to look at it and understand this, because as commissioners, you're going to be accused of going out for additional tax revenue at the expense of the very people you serve, the ranchers, the homeowners, business owners in the area. So if you go to page 3, you can see we have at the top the positive part of the ledger, the $2 million that comes in. And then below that, it's all the 8 areas that we analyze in detail to come up with other impacts. And it goes, believe it or not, from bats. This is something I didn't know, but we have access to a research study for Clay County that shows the impacts of killing or driving off bats in the area, effect of water losses, residential property devaluation, tourism reduction, which is mostly hunting leases. Although in Montague County, we found out that there's quite a study for the old trail, the old cattle drive trail, that a lot of people come and look at that, especially for the crossings on the Red River. That's impact. So it goes all the way down even to miscellaneous. We add all those up and you can see at the bottom there's a $6.4 million negative impact. Our concern was that we would be accused of creating numbers to prove our point. So the next 2 pages, page 5 and 6, you'll see they're broken down by category impact. Those are all the financial backup we have for each one of those positions. You can go online. If you say, well, that deal about bats doesn't make sense to me, you can see 5 areas where we have found scientific backup. It's not emotional backup, it's scientific. If you go down to human health, we could have gone on forever. Canada has declared now the wind farm syndrome as a government, you know, they have Obamacare on steroids up there. I was born and raised in Canada. It killed my mother, the health care system. So when they declare it as a health condition, to me, it's got credibility. And so you can go through on every area and see our backup and realize that it was a very serious and a thorough study. I'd appreciate it if you take the time. I know you guys are all busy right now, but take the time to look at that. And I'd like to contact you over the next several weeks and see if you have any questions and pursue those. It's a very serious study. Just before I sit down, and thank you for the extended time, Judge, we have an item on the agenda this morning for solar farms. I'm talking to you today about the effect of wind farms, but we are absolutely as concerned about solar farms as we are about wind farms because they take so many government incentives to do it. They'll want to come and get a break from you on your taxes. Those of you that have a local hardware store or some other store, have you got a break on your taxes? It's been in the family, your ranch for 100 years. Did you ever get a break on your taxes? If they can't stand on their own feet by now, after 25 years of government subsidies, we are steadfastly in opposition. 600 people in your jurisdictions, 600 electors are opposed to this. We want to register that very steadfastly and without any reservation at all. We oppose any tax incentives for a system that drives up our cost for electricity. Thank you very much for your time. Any questions?
Yes, would you be able to send me an electronic version of this?
I can. I
So,
sure can.
we have to have all these
Electronic
things in.
version might be better because you can
Yeah,
do
click on the
control
links.
click and they pop up.
Gotcha.
Thank you very much.
appreciate it. And your turn.
Thank you, Brian.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning. Excuse me. My name is Ann Smith, and I've been before this court before. I spoke, as Brian said, about the safety issues associated with wind. But this morning, I'm here to address partly what Brian has just spoken about, and that is the negative aspects of wind. But more to the point, I'm here to urge you when you get to the point of having any 312 application presented to you, consider the following. Pay attention to the provisions in the 312 statute, one of which is job creation. That is a major portion of it. If there's not going to be enough permanent jobs for a project that's brought before this court, then you ought not to approve it. So, so if it falls outside that criteria, just be aware that there's a potential problem there. And secondly, what Brian said is these things need to stand on their own. Make them pay the full ride. Don't give up long-term revenue for a short-term payout, a bribe, basically. So I'm not as organized as I was last time, but I just wrote these notes out this morning. So, but that's really it. You know, pay attention to the statute. Make sure you understand the provisions. Don't approve anything that doesn't follow the criteria that's in the statute, and make them pay for it. You know, if they want to build a solar farm, make them pay the full tax rate. Don't give up that revenue.
Thank you.
Thank you.
For your time. Appreciate you coming in.
Judge, I've got a question.
Yes, sir.
There is going to be a discussion today about a solar farm that's being.
We are, if he connects, we've got a fellow from Dallas that's proposing a solar farm. He's going to provide us information. No decisions will be made today.
Mhm.
It's for information only.
Would you allow public comment after that is given?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. I think that's everybody on the list.
He's here.
Can you not see me?
I can. Hello, Ross. How are you, sir? We got a few more little items to take care of, and we'll be ready for you.
Yes, thank you.
All right, very good. Let's see, that was 11. Item number 12, county judge to give updates, provide information regarding meetings and or events concerning Clay County. Not much going on. Actually, we got a whole bunch going on. It's been amazing. First of all, let me just compliment all the staff of the county. I've been very cooperative and understanding of what we've been up against. Certainly, if you've turned on the TV or picked up a newspaper in the last few weeks, you understand the seriousness of what we're facing. And it's sort of, you can see the evidence of that here today. We did declare a local disaster last Wednesday, and we agonized over that for quite some time, but felt like that it would be in the best interest of the people of Clay County to declare that disaster, to give us the authority to do some things in the event it does get to that point where we need to lock things down. We now have the authority to do that. It's primarily, though, is for FEMA. That's a requirement if we have funding available to us. That moves us to the top of the list. If we didn't declare a disaster, it's hard to ask for money to reimburse for the expenses we've had. So that was the driving force behind that. As far as the offices for the county is closed, last week we did close to the public our Justice of the Peace, our county clerk's office, and also our tag office. Now the tag office compliments y'all on building this building. You built a drive-through. So they were able to continue and are able to continue at this point with the drive-through portion for people who need tags and need the little thing that goes for handicap parking. All of those things are able to get through the drive-through. So that was forward thinking on your part for that. As far as the actual, and the library, we chose to close the library to the public last night. They will still be there. I think our librarian is out this week for vacation, so it would just be our library aide. So I felt like it'd be in the best interest to lock the door. They will still be there to answer calls and accept books that people are turning back in, that sort of thing, and be a resource for those folks as well. I think the district clerk's office, I'm not sure on what's going on over there. I think they may have, I don't know if they've locked the door to that office yet or not.
I know that they can't renew passports
they shut down task force. That's what it was. So there's that. I know all the county, the district courtroom and also the county docket was rescheduled. It will be rescheduled as well. So we're trying to do our part. You know, we're 11,000 people in Clay County, and we got 700,000 acres we can spread out over. So our chances for being infected is not as much as Dallas or Harris County, but we're not immune to it either. We still have the truck stop. We got the Shell station. We've got Eagle Mart in Bellevue. We've got several places around our county people stop that are driving through. We have no idea what's going down that road. We've got 5 cases right now that I'm aware of in Wichita County that are confirmed. I've got some statistics on that in a little bit. So while granted it is unfortunate for our students, our schools have shut down. I had a great meeting with our superintendents. The local disaster allowed me to shut down schools. Obviously, I wouldn't do that unless everyone agreed that that was the right thing to do, and they did. So we're shut down. We're going to visit with all the superintendents every Wednesday at 9 a.m. and we'll talk about when can we open our schools so that all the schools will open at the same time. We'll be uniform in that. Great cooperation from the schools. Let me go ahead and tell you that they still feel a responsibility to feed the children. They got a lot of kids that are on free and reduced lunch, and so they're charting unnavigated waters on that as well. We have a great relationship with our hospital. I visited with Jeff Husky. He gave us the masks that he could spare. We provided those to the sheriff's office, Petrolia, and Midway, but we were out. So Saturday afternoon, Tricia and I were sitting at the house, and she showed me a story where local seamstresses were making masks. So I called my friend Pam Shank over to Aunt Pam's Closet. I said, is there a chance you could make masks? And she said, yes, I believe I can if you'll give me a pattern. So I took her one of these. She took about 15 minutes to make that. So she's going to make these for all the sheriff's deputies if y'all want them, if you need them. She's going to make it for all the bus drivers and aides that are going to be delivering meals out to the students. She said that no charge either on that. She's going to make, once she gets done with that, she is going to make them for the public. And if the public, I've suggested, if they want to give a donation and let her decide what, once her materials are paid for, then certainly I think it would be appropriate to do that. Because when I talked to Lance Liggett, because I turned in a STAR request to the Texas Department of Emergency Management requesting 600 of these guys. And he said, how soon do you need them? I said, Monday would be good. And he said, how about 3 months? So that's kind of where we were on that. So I appreciate Pam for that. The hospitals provided the gloves for us as well. I think we're in fairly good shape on gloves, but masks are not. Ann, did you have a comment?
If you would pass on to Pam that she needs to have different patterns inside and out on the mask, because if any health professional is using them, they have to know which side was to their face and which side was to the patient.
Okay.
So I saw that online. I think it's great that she stepped up to do it, but if you would pass that on to her.
We will. All right, so Lance Liggett is our representative for the Texas Division of Emergency Management. Here is his situation report as of this morning. City of Wichita Falls has closed various city buildings, access to limited necessary appointments, multiple STAR requests, of which ours is one of them. They're expecting more, obviously, today. Texas A&M AgriLife is assisting one person to assist in their operations down there. The counties that have disaster declarations so far as Baylor, Clay, Cottle, Hardeman, Montague, Wichita, Wilbarger, and Young. So those are those that we have not stood up a EOC as of yet. Keith, I'm thinking about doing that virtually. We may have a virtual EOC.
Yes.
So we can look at that. I think that's everything I've got on that. There's so much going on right now. It's kind of a moving target here as far as one of my current terms that people are using is we are in a very fluid situation. And I think that describes it pretty well. We're just making it up as we go along, pretty much is, I guess, the better way to say that. But one of the things of being a new judge, you know, there's a lot of things I can call people about and ask, you know, how'd y'all do this in the past? I had nobody I can call on this one. So we appreciate your support and help in keeping us afloat, keeping us safe. We may get more serious as we go along, and we may have to do more of a shelter in place like Dallas County. Hold off on that as long as we can. I would say to you, please support our local restaurants, do the takeouts, that sort of thing. Support our local business. All those times that you all called and asked them to spend money on your baseball teams, now it's time to pay back on that one. We have a report here from Danja, and we do have our tax monthly certified report for taxes. And as of February, we are currently at 94.61%. So our compliments to the taxpayers of Clay County for being responsible for paying their taxes. All right. Any questions about anything I've covered?
I don't have a question, but I have one additional comment.
Okay.
The statistics released from New York today are kind of encouraging. They have a lot of cases, 17,000, but they only have 153 deaths, which means it's tailing, the death rate is tailing off, which is what a lot of the models said would happen. But as the number of cases went up, the rate would go down. It's now under 1%
Thank you.
in New York.
Okay.
So I think that's encouraging.
Mhm.
I don't want, for people to get overly optimistic, but I think it's encouraging.
Need to mention Dr. Greer also. Dr. Greer is our official health officer for Clay County, and he's been very helpful. And I've talked to him multiple times about what we ought to be doing. I'm taking his advice on that as well. So that's where we are. All right, item 13, court to discuss, take any action necessary on proposed mitigation plans presented by Clay County Emergency Management Coordinator Keith Birch.
And then, like I say, we're still on hold. We're still waiting for them to lay hands and bless it. So.
Gotcha. We did get some equipment last week that was we've been looking forward to for a long time. You might talk about that.
Yeah, we did get a mobile repeater. It's a regional asset. In fact, this region's got two of them. One's in Ford and one will be stationed here. And we had a demonstration out here. I believe Mr. Larry went. And it's a really good asset. It's not that difficult to hook up. It's all the cables and stuff are color coded. So I mean, it's got tape, blue on blue, red on red. And we set it up right out here, and we were able to talk to Jack County. We couldn't get Montague due to just sitting right here at the building. But that's how many miles that, Judge? Several miles to Jack County.
40, 50 miles.
Yes, on a handheld device. So it's a really, really good piece of equipment. I think it can actually be used a lot. Sheriff's Department, manhunts, whatever you're out in the woods, if y'all need it, just give us a holler. We'll help y'all any way we can. It's got all the channels. It's got all Clay County channels. And the other counties are putting theirs in, so when they borrow it, they just go to their channels. And they can talk to everybody that responded to them.
So the purpose behind it, for example, if we needed it back in Vashtown, whenever we were having that manhunt down there, one of the problems we had was that they could talk to each other fairly well, but they couldn't talk back to Henrietta. And so this will link them back to that.
Be the link.
Gotcha.
Yes, absolutely.
Very good. Good news. Thank you.
Yes.
All right. Adam, anything else? I'm sorry.
No, sir. I think you covered everything else I could have possibly talked about earlier.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. Court to consider taking any action concerning a burn ban. I'm thinking we're in pretty good shape. I don't know if y'all looked around this morning when you drove in, but everything's pretty well green. So that is a blessing. Bad wet, yeah. Stuff you have to drive out. Court to consider and possibly approve any departmental reports, and we do have a couple here. I understand we've got the financial report from the county clerk is here. You should have a copy of that, and we also have one from constable as well. Mrs. Oak. Here it is. You all need to initial these, I suppose. They need. I know you need to initial that. So
Let's start down here. Initial that, if you've seen it. All right, so I need a motion to approve the county clerk's report and the constable's report.
I'd like a motion to approve the county constable and the county clerk's department reports.
Second. Motion's made by, well, point you in a hurry now. There you go. Motion's made by John, seconded by Richard. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes 5-0. Court can discuss and possibly approve County Treasurer Danja Bloodworth's monthly report. And Danja is in our pack here, so you've had an opportunity to see that.
Make a motion that we approve the county treasurer's monthly report.
Motion made by Johnny, seconded by Chase. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes 5-0. Court to consider possibly approve Auditor Gina Blevins' monthly report.
Mine will be on the next one.
All right. Not that. Court to acknowledge, this is item 18. Ross, this is you. Ross Matursky, who is president of Matursky Energy. He is going to provide information concerning our solar farm, his solar farm plans for Clay County. So Ross, you're ready to go.
Okay. Good morning, Judge Campbell, commissioners, and members of the public. Thanks for letting me join over the video phone. I definitely prefer to be there in person, but as you mentioned, these are unprecedented times. I'm in the Dallas area, and like you said, a lot of things are on partial lockdown, so didn't feel it appropriate to drive and import anything from Dallas to Henrietta. I was up in that area a couple weeks ago for a wedding, but the times have changed in just a short time. I just want to give some background on solar. So I've been in the energy business for 30 years, started in gas and pipelines, and I've been in power plants most of the time, large scale power. I've been developing gas-fired combined cycle projects and cogeneration projects at industrial sites. But for about the last 6 years, I've been doing solar projects. I did a couple in Texas, several hundred megawatts of projects down in the Houston area in Fort Bend County. I did one in Kentucky, did some gas projects, all in Pennsylvania, Virginia, just a number of projects. But my focus now is really in Texas and all across Texas. I do work for other companies, but also do my own development. So I've been looking at some opportunities in Clay County because there's good transmission access, and that's where it really all starts. So if you look north and east of where you're sitting in Henrietta, there's a very large Encore transmission line. So that's the focus. So the early stage, just to give you some background, important items are transmission access, and then the 313 process and the 312 process. Those are all very important to decide whether or not to move forward with a project. So this is the starting point really for the 312. And yes, we have to follow all the rules that are set out by the legislature. Same thing for the 313 process with the school district. There are, that's a state statute, so we go word by what it says. There's limited options for either party, but we always follow the rules. So that's just the general for solar. What I would be looking to do is, a minimum of 100 megawatts. My preference for that area would be if I could get up to 200 to 300, that would be fantastic. Because that line, as I mentioned, that transmission line owned by Encore is a very robust system. And I think it can handle quite a bit of power. So that would kind of be the target. And that would be more defined There's a long process with ERCOT, the transmission, kind of manager, and Encore in determining exactly what we can put on the grid there. But to get started, you can always go smaller. It's harder to go larger. So we would go in with the largest that we think would work there, both from land availability and what the power market would be willing to purchase at market prices in that location. So that would be the driver. But to give you some raw numbers, 100 megawatts is about 700 acres roughly. 200 is about 1,400 acres. A good rule of thumb is 7 acres per megawatt. And of course that depends on, are there creeks and flood zones, and, is it too hilly in an area, and all that goes into how much land is usable. But if you have a perfectly flat, no creeks or anything, you could probably use less than 7 acres per megawatt. But that's all part of the process of putting more engineering into a location and figuring out just what exactly will work. Yeah, so that's, I'd be happy as part of the process, when we submit, work with the court on an application, there'll be some public involvement and engagement, and sit down and hear people's thoughts. And we heard a little bit from more focused on wind. I'd like to see the points that have been developed on solar, and just sit down and talk about the real impact and the economics. One thing of value clearly to the county is land gets removed from ag exemption, so there's instant revenue there. So there are a lot of points to discuss. That's not the purpose of today, to go through them all, but be happy to, as part of the process, have those discussions.
Very good. Are you open to questions right now? Are you open to questions? Would you take questions?
Sure.
Couple that I have is, when you were to implement a solar farm, do you purchase the land or do you lease the land from the landowner?
We've done both. It just, I found many landowners are not interested in purchasing it. They just want to lease, or in selling it. They just want to lease it. So it really depends on the interest of the landowners. But as a developer, I'm open to both.
Are you available to announce the location of the one you're talking about yet, or is that still?
That's still under negotiation. So, but it's up. If you look at where I described the transmission line, it's in that area. So the same line runs all the way from west of Wichita Falls down to the Denton area, down to Crum. So, we're looking at the north of Henrietta, maybe a little northeast of Henrietta. So
what kind of a timeline do you have on this? In a perfect world, if everything went according to plan and we knock out this COVID-19 pretty quick, what's your projected timeline?
So in an ideal world, the project would be up and running 2 summers from now. So May, June 2020. The study process with Encore that I mentioned earlier, that takes a year plus. But while that's ongoing, you can do a lot of the work up front. It'd take about a year to actually construct a project of 100 megawatts. 200 would probably take a little bit longer. But there are things you can do staging wise to make that happen. So that would be the ideal case.
I guess any other questions that y'all might have for Mr. Matursky? So
one thing we'll get, be able to discuss when, in an application process is a lot of projects have a big impact on county resources. Solar projects don't have that. We don't need infrastructure to support it. Nothing that will be borne by the county. The road impact is very low. It's just 18-wheelers delivering, not heavy loads. Anything, any impact on the county roads would be repaired, if there are any at all. but they're only, with some manufacturing processes, you have, huge, heavy pieces of equipment. On a project like this, we might have 2 large transformers, and that would be the only heavy pieces of equipment. And, they're well-developed mechanisms to deliver those, trailers with lots of tires, lots of axles to distribute the weight so they don't tear up roads. And everything will be delivered in stages, so it really minimizes the impact. The infrastructure to interconnect to the transmission lines will be borne either by the transmission company or by the project, so the county doesn't pay for any of that.
So as far as the taxing portion of this goes, would the county tax the equipment itself, like the actual panels and the transformers and that sort of thing? And also, what about the electricity that's produced? Do we tax based on kilowatts, or how is the taxing normally done?
Yeah, so the electricity produced is not taxable. It's exempt from sales and use taxes, and that's all electricity across the state. So it's nothing unique to this project. But anything the land coming out of ag exemption would become taxable. All the equipment on site would be taxable.
Okay. All right, very good. So I'm sure in the negotiation, you'd figure out who pays those taxes for non-ag exempt.
That's correct.
That's part of your whole negotiation with the landowner.
Yeah. So if we did a lease, then it's between us and the landowner to decide. And it's all over the board. Some landowners say no, I don't want to pay anything, so it's all included in the lease payment from the project. The lease, the project would pay all of the taxes, or some landowners are fine paying the taxes. It's just a split. You sit down and discuss the needs and interests of each party, and allocate it appropriately.
I know you're negotiating with landowners, but can you give us a range of what a lease per acre might be? Or is this too early to ask?
Yeah, it's too early, and yeah, I would rather not discuss.
Okay, I understand.
With individual landowners.
Just had to try.
Yeah.
All right, well, Ross, thank you so much. Anything else you want to share before we?
Well, how many jobs are y'all talking about putting in this project? What you discussed earlier.
So with solar during construction, we'd probably have, depending on the size, 200 to 300 jobs during construction.
Local jobs.
Yeah, to the extent the jobs would be posted locally, and to the extent that the labor force can fill those, yeah, we would definitely look locally. They're not, there are a lot of assembly jobs, some electrical, so not, there are things that, laborers and construction folks should be fully qualified for. But we would look local. It's always better to hire people locally.
What about long term?
So yeah, long term, that's an issue with solar. So you don't need a big workforce to operate a solar facility. So normally, like in the school district process, you're allowed to do a job waiver. So a good rule of thumb for solar is, and it depends, how many are in the area. If there are others, then there might be a regional presence. But a solar facility is only a few jobs, a few permanent jobs. They're good jobs, but you only have so much of it is, there's not much to break down. You bring in contracts, so it depends how you cover there are always crews coming in for maintenance, and depending on how we handle the grasses, that could be someone's.
This is probably a question, but I know you can't run cattle when you bring in solar farm.
You can't run cattle, but you can have sheep out there.
There you go. Okay, that's what I was going to ask.
That's a good approach. So there are a lot of interesting approaches to managing. The worst case is just walking around spraying herbicide of some sort. Nobody wants really to do that. So there are some people that will bring in sheep. And the industry is moving to having them there permanently. So then you're just grazing sheep as opposed to like goats, which are more destructive on the wiring and things like that. But you'll have contractors coming in for crews, but generally there are only a few jobs that are employed by the operator, and everything else is contracted out.
I know that you can't cover every square acre of a property that you might lease with a solar farm, so there might be a place available for someone to drill a well. What effect would this have on the mineral rights of the landowner?
No, that's a great question. So, and that's part of the layout. What you do is you set aside drill sites from the start, so that and I don't like using rules of thumb, but this is going to be the third one I mentioned. Is it's 5 acres per 1,000 acres, especially with directional drilling these days. So you'll set aside from day one a drill site and access to that drill site, and you work with the mineral owners to agree to a location, and they sign their waivers, their surface waivers, because you set aside 1, 2, 3, depending on the site, locations of say 5 acres each. That gives them the right to come in and drill, and then in the future they don't need our permission. They have full access to that. If they want to drill, they can drill, and it works out for everyone. That's very common, and there's a well laid out mineral and law in Texas to support that.
All right, very good. All right. Any other questions from our commissioners or folks? No. Very good. Thank you, sir. Appreciate your time, and thank you for not coming.
Yeah, no problem. I appreciate you having me, and good talking to you guys.
We like you, but you scare us. So
yeah, no, I've heard that before.
All right. All right. Thanks, sir. All right. Any comment from you all? You had asked to. Yes, sir.
Would you mind if I had a few minutes just to?
You can take 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they've got one project they've completed. They've got one project that's in the works. They've got one project up in Ohio that they, the first time in Ohio's history, they turned them down. The people that Matursky works with, called Lend-Lease. They said the job creation is going to be maybe 2 permanent jobs. In most of the solar farms that are here in Texas, there's 1 permanent job. That's just what's going on in reality. The comment made about the mineral rights, the mineral owner is the dominant estate in Texas. So creating a big problem by making that statement that a surface owner can go out and cover 1,000 acres and leave 5. It's got a lot of legal issues to it that is going to tie it up in court for a long time. I can guarantee you that. Solar energy has been proven to be full of toxic chemicals, and the government data has already proven that just out there without cracks and hail damage and storm damage, that the cadmium, which is a carcinogenic element, and lead is leached out of these panels into the ground, and so you've got this terrible waste issue going on. It's if you look at nuclear energy compared to solar energy, and you look at a 25-year span, and you stack the waste.
Can we wrap up
real quick? You got the leaning tower of Pisa is how much nuclear energy on a football field would be stacked, and with solar energy, you've got 2 Mount Everest. The toxicity of this is through the roof. So the bottom line is this is another. They get a 30% federal tax credit, and now they're coming to these rural counties asking for handouts from y'all. And there's no reason you need to give up a full tax benefit for all the hundreds of millions of dollars worth of panels they're going to put on the turf.
Can I get your name, please? For
George Clay.
George Clay.
Yes.
The county's named after him.
Yes. King to Henry. All right. Thank you, everybody.
Judge Campbell, can I say 2 things real quick? Sorry to turn this into a
I
debate.
don't want to turn this into a debate.
No, we don't want to, but just to clarify, I'm not with Lend-Lease Energy Development as of last summer. I formed Matursky Energy, so I've done some of their work and I haven't been involved in other activities that he mentioned. And then just to finish on the mineral waivers, those are signed with the mineral owners. They are not the surface waiver. The surface owner does not have any right to sign away the mineral owner's rights. So that is an agreement with the owners of the minerals. Yes, the mineral estate is the dominant estate, and the mineral owners are involved, and they are the parties that sign it. So no one speaks on their behalf.
Very good. Thanks, sir. Appreciate that. All right, moving on to item 19, court to acknowledge the renewal of Dr. Hugh David Greer as our health authority for Clay County for a 2-year term, beginning July the 8th, 2019, ending July the 8th, 2021. We've already approved him. This is now acknowledging the paperwork that we send into the health department for this. So need a motion to acknowledge the renewal of Dr.
I'll
Greer.
make that motion.
Motion made by Chase, seconded by John. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes 5-0. Number 20, court to consider and possibly approve the rural support safety resolution grant application to the office of the governor. Who had that? What was that? Is that right?
Even though that is not this, based on
Yes, I do. And now I'm looking for it.
you have it.
Here it is. All right, this is a resolution that we need to approve to allow him to apply for a, I believe it's Homeland Security grant. Get all the acronyms mixed up now. But this is one that's similar to the one that we did for cybersecurity, same committee, but apparently this is that we approve this resolution. I can read it to you. The county Clay finds the best interest of citizens of Clay County that the rules of support safety be operated for 2021, whereas county agrees to provide applicable matching funds. Sheriff, I understand there are no funds, is zero, okay. Whereas the county of Clay agrees that the event of loss or misuse, in other words, if we mess up, we give the money back. If we're not, we do something illegal with it. The county designates Sheriff Kenny Lemons as the grantee's authorized official. The authorized official is given the power to apply for, accept, reject, alter, terminate the grant on behalf of the applicant agency. And therefore, be it resolved that the county of Clay approves submission of the grant application for rural support safety to the office of the governor. Sheriff, do you want to expand on this any?
Continuation of the grant that was approved last year that we got, and in reality, when we got the funds for a trailer and a utility vehicle that was used to go up and down the river, we didn't get all the equipment on it that was promised. So in order to get the equipment to finish out that grant, we had to apply for that.
Gotcha.
And it's simply just more equipment to go on the same.
Now, is this 100% grant?
Yes, there's no money the county owes at all. It is a grantee, grants out just like the ATV, you pay for it first and get your money, but I believe it came in relatively quick when we got the trailer and the ATV or UTV, so it didn't take long.
Any other questions? Need a motion?
Make a motion that we approve the rural support safety resolution grant application to the office of the governor.
Second. Motion made by Johnny, seconded by Richard. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes 5-0. 21, court to consider and possibly approve the purchase agreement for the hardware MDC package purchase between Peacemaker Technologies and Constable Cup Horton. So, Kirk, this one's yours. You want to tell us about it?
I'm not real sure if something was approved.
I believe this may be left over from the last. Becky, is this 21, item 21?
This
This is
is from
Gina's.
our budget.
Gotcha.
yes.
Okay, I beg your pardon.
It was actually a contract and it was 3 payments. And when we did the budget, we did it on the first payment. And the other 2 payments still need to be approved on it for the next 2 budget years.
So we probably should have done it back when we did the first one. So we're just clearing that up to make sure everybody understands. This will be a 3-year deal.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Make a motion that we approve the purchase agreement for the hardware MDC package purchase between Peacemaker Technologies and Constable Care Force.
Motion made by Johnny,
Second.
seconded by John. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes 5-0. Court to consider and possibly approve the Texas Department of Agriculture Texans Feeding Texans Home Delivered Meal Grant Program Resolution authorizing the county grant year 2020 to the Clay County Senior Citizen Club, Inc. And this again is a formality. It's in the budget. This authorizes our treasurer to actually pay them, write the check. So I need a motion.
I'll make that motion.
Motion made by Chase,
Second.
seconded by John. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes 5-0. Court consider possibly approve the County Transportation Infrastructure Fund Grant Program. Clay County Officer Gina Blevins will be the party authorized to sign the certification of environmental permitting and regulatory issues. So, Gina, anything you want to talk about that? It's pretty self-explanatory.
She's doing it well, aren't
Is this the grant that's for the?
Yes.
Yes, yes.
That's the one that you've been working with TxDOT on. Okay, very good. Oh, we talked about
And this is a environmental planning, permitting and regulatory issue. I think that was the one Jim Allison said at the last year when we started this other project. It's stating that basically the bottom line is not required. The county is not required to provide any public meetings or public hearings for assessing and mitigating environmental issues for the project. So in other words, we don't hire an engineer to go out here and look at each individual road and say it doesn't have, we're not going to bother some rat or something.
Corny toads.
Corny toads.
All right, very good. So we need a motion to approve County Transportation Infrastructure Fund Grant Program.
I'll make a motion to approve the county transportation infrastructure fund grant.
Perfect. Second. Motion made by John, seconded by Richard. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes 5-0. Court to consider and possibly approve the county judge's declaration of local state disaster due to public health emergency regarding Clay County. I declared this disaster on Wednesday, and it was good for 7 days. If you choose not to ratify or approve it today, then it will expire, I guess, Tuesday. I would ask that you approve this declaration. It'll be good for further notice. And kind of like a burn ban, I will be the one to say we're out of the disaster. So this will be basically till further notice.
Make a motion that we approve county judge declaration of local state disaster due to public health emergency regarding Clay County, Texas.
Second.
Motion is made by Johnny, seconded by John. Any discussion? I would say to you that we are bound by the president and the governor. We cannot propose anything of less severity than they do, but we can be more severe than they are. So we have that before us. All those in favor of this motion say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes 5-0. Yes.
Before y'all adjourn, I just got off the phone with Tony Fox. And I'm assuming you don't know, the first generator, y'all's generator over in Byers for the backup for the repeater was stolen last week. And we have one already in place. They were having issues and I had an extra one. And to the commissioner's court, we donated it and it's an asset for them. Just found out on a phone call this while ago, somebody broke in, cut the lock and stole that. So they do not have a backup generator at all in the north end of the county. And it's vital.
So then
We have to have one.
let me ask you this, it's there because we can very quickly plug it in and turn it on and make it work.
Yes.
So then I guess what you're asking for is we're gonna need to come up with another generator
Yes,
they
sir.
to support them until
Yes.
they can get one. And I would guess we keep it here and you or I will take it to them. Or Rick
Yes, yes.
on this, we're not
Yeah.
gonna put any more out. It's
Not
like-
anymore.
So is there a place we can lease this generator that we need?
Well, I'd have to research that, but I don't know if you can or not. So it'd be feasible.
What size?
What size is that?
It's
It's,
pretty small one. I mean,
yeah,
no,
I
it's
mean,
not.
two people can carry it.
Yeah.
It's a two people deal.
So could you go to Tractor Supply and buy one for
Sure.
like $600?
Yes.
We're talking about a
No.
$600 deal.
I got it. Up 600.
Probably about
1,000.
7 to 1,000.
Yeah.
All right. So, but it's not like,
Oh, no, it's not a major purchase.
and that is something we can purchase out of emergency. We do not need a motion here to do that, I don't believe. Gina, you correct me on that.
I was just letting y'all be aware in case it was.
All right, so.
So,
Most of the ones that were stolen were small ones.
yes, yes, sir.
So 5,000 watt, something like that. would be
Something like
sufficient.
that, yes.
So you're only talking about running just a small,
Yeah,
and we probably do an overkill on what we're getting already for. I mean, just a real small generator.
What are they
Somewhere
actually running
between
with?
600 and
do
1,000.
what?
What are they actually running with it? What's the generator?
Well, it's for when the power goes out, it's for the repeater system. So we can.
Oh, that thing doesn't draw 20 watts.
Also, they use it, the city plugs into to keep their water working too.
Yes,
They pay our electricity and everything, so we let them, electricity goes down, plug into them.
So we do need a bigger generator for that.
Well, what we had was.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
oh, right, okay. All right, so this is all stuff we need to take care of, and we'll take care of that. And so thank you for bringing that
yes.
to our attention. Seeing no more items on the agenda, shall we by general consent adjourn? Seeing no objection, we are adjourned by general consent. Thank you all.